BJT as an amplifier in common emitter configuration, and mainly what we are going to study here is the characteristics of common emitter BJT, the input as well as output characteristics. So let me just show you this manual first, share with you the slide with which we'll discuss this. Okay, is this visible to all? Is this PDF slide visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let us start with what are basically transistors, right? Because BJT is nothing but bipolar junction transistor. So how is it being created? Whenever a third doped element is added to a crystal diode in such a way that two PN junctions are formed, this resulting device is known as a transistor. Okay, so it is capable of achieving amplification of weak signals comparable and superior to the vacuum tubes. So transistors were initially formed for amplification. Basically, the main usage of transistors was for amplification, but nowadays we use these BJTs in different applications. Some of them are specially designed for switching applications also. Okay, and these are mechanically strong when you compare it with vacuum tubes. They have practically unlimited life and do a job much better than the vacuum tubes. Now, how is the transistor formed? It is consisting of two PN junctions formed by sandwiching either P or N type semiconductors between a pair of opposite types. That means either I will have the three layers here, either it can be a P layer which is sandwiched between two N type layers, we will call this an NPN transistor, or similarly we may have a N layer which is sandwiched between two P layers, we will call it a PNP transistor. This basics is already known to you. So this is how we represent the two type of transistors, NPN and PNP. You can see here that the base layer here, this base layer is the emitter and this is the collector. The base layer, the sandwich layer is actually very thin. Okay, so it is comprising of for an NPN transistor, this is an NPN case. Here it is comprised of two N semiconductors which are separated by a thin P type layer. Whereas for PNP, N is the sandwich layer, that is the base layer, that is very thin here. So all transistors, these are some important points to be noted here. There are two PN junctions which are being formed here. Okay, between the three layers, there are two junctions formed because you know that there are three layers which are being formed, layer 1, layer 2 and layer 3. Out of which we can say that this is known as a junction 1, this is a second junction, junction J2. Depending upon whether it is a NPN or PNP type transistor, we will definitely have a PN junction formed here. J1 will also be a PN junction and J2 will also be a PN junction. So there are two PN junctions. So a transistor may be regarded as a combination of two diodes which are connected back to back. Why are we saying back to back? Because if this is a NPN connection, then how you represent this? PN. You can say that between P and N there is a diode, this particular fashion, and between P and N junction here, second junction J2, there is again another PN junction diode which is having an anode and cathode. And this is known as the diode, two diodes which are connected in back to back. This is for NPN. Similarly, if we try to draw for PNP, can say other again there are two PN junctions. So what is the way in which this is connected? This is P and this is N. Similarly, here also we are having a P and N, anode and cathode in this particular fashion. So it is a combination of two diodes which are connected back to back. These are the three terminals, one taken from each type of semiconductor, because it is NPN and PNP. Each semiconductor has a terminal which is taken out to it. The middle section is a very thin layer which is known as the base layer. This is the most important factor in the function of a transistor, because depending upon its thickness and doping level, we can actually control the working of a transistor. Let us see how. So in these two PN junctions, one of the junction is actually forward bias and the other junction is reverse bias. Definitely we know, since in our previous experiment also, a forward bias PN junction offers low resistance to the flow of current. That is why we say that the device is actually turned on, or it is starting to conduct. It is in the conduction mode. So the forward bias junction has a lower resistance path, and we know that for a reverse bias condition, because of the high junction barrier, flow of current will be minimum. Only the reverse uh, reverse recovery current will be flowing through it, very small in microamperes. We had seen in the previous experiment also. So we say that it offers high resistance path. So forward bias junction will offer low resistance path, and reverse bias will be offering high resistance path. Now, what are we generally doing here when we use this device as a amplifier? Okay, to amplify something, what you have to do, you have to give a lower signal, get a higher signal at the output. Amplification means that, right? So how do we amplify? We provide a lower signal and we provide it to the region where it is forward bias, because forward bias will have lower resistance. So the weak signal is actually introduced in the lower resistance circuit, and the output is actually taken from a high resistance circuit. What will happen? As a result of which there will be a transistor action, which is amplification here. So therefore this transistor transfers a signal from a low resistance to high resistance region. So that is why the prefix trans means the signal is transferred, signal transfer property of the device, whereas ISTOR classifies it as a solid element in the same family of resistors. Like a resistor, the ending is ISTOR. Similarly, transistor is also coming as a solid element in the same generalized family. Trans is actually telling us that it is actually transferring the signal from a low resistance circuit to a high resistance circuit. Now that is about the basic of representation of a transistor and switch. Now how does that actually work? What are the terminals which we discussed? Collector, base and emitter. So it has three sections or three layers we discussed of doped semiconductors, because they are either N, P, N or P, N and P. So one of the side is actually an emitter region. The section which is on the opposite side is known as a collector region, and the middle section is actually called the base. This is known as the base region, and this base between these two junctions, between these two semiconductors, forms two junction between emitter and collector. So we have discussed this. This is J1 and this is J2. J1 and J2. Now let us see the first section here, first layer, which is the emitter. So the emitter layer is on one of the sides that supplies charge carriers. This is known as the emitter region. Now this region is in charge, or is responsible for injecting the charge carriers. Now these charge carriers may be either electrons or maybe holes. So it can either be holes or electrons. You should note that. Don't just think that whenever it is supplying charge carrier that it is electrons. In PNP type it will be a holes also. So you should always remember that this emitter region is always forward bias with respect to the base region. This is always kept in the forward bias condition, so that it can supply a large number of majority carriers. Because since the name itself is emitter, right? What does emitter mean? That it is emitting or releasing or supplying some charge carriers, which may be either positive, that holes, or negative in terms of electrons. So let us see in this figure here. The first one is representing a PNP transistor. The leftmost region is actually the emitter, central region, the sandwich region is the base, and the third region, the opposite region, is the collector. So in this particular case, in this figure, first part, you can see it's a PNP transistor. So what is this emitter actually releasing? This is releasing holes. Okay? So this is releasing holes to the junction here. So whenever it is forward bias, we said that emitter base region should be forward bias. This junction should be forward bias. This junction J1 should be forward bias. Similarly, junction J2 should be reverse bias. So whenever that happens, we know forward bias means P is connected to anode, anode is connected to positive, and cathode here is connected to negative. What will happen? This holes will be actually attracted towards this junction. Only electrons will be attracted towards the junction here. So it will try to cross, the holes will try to cross here, and electrons will try to cross in the opposite direction. So we say that this is a forward bias condition for a PNP transistor. And what does it do? It supplies holes, which are the form of charges here, to its junction towards the base. From here towards the base, it is actually supplying holes. Similarly, if we see the second figure here, it's an NPN transistor. What is this emitter doing? Emitter base region should be forward bias. Now since it is N, it is connected to negative. It is P, it is connected to positive. The polarity has to be like this for NPN transistor. In this particular case, what are the charge carriers which are actually emitted by this emitter region? It is the electrons. Right? Electrons are emitted because this negative and this emitter N type will have majority of electrons, so it will be moved towards the junction here, the junction J1. Here also junction J1 and junction J2 are there. So what are these charges which are actually emitted by the emitter? This supplies charge carriers which are either holes or electrons depending upon the transistor, whether it is PNP or NPN respectively. I hope that is clear to everyone. Now the second region which we have at the opposite side is basically the collector region. So this, as the name is actually suggesting, it is actually the region which collects these charges. So emitter is actually releasing or emitting these charges. Emitting is not the proper word because emitting means emission of light. We are not talking about that particular way. Emitter, we say that it is actually releasing holes or electrons, and the collector is actually collecting or receiving these charges. So these are known as, this is known as the collector region or collector layer. So this collector is always reverse bias, collector base region. Its function is to remove these charges from the junction with the base. So whatever the charges, for example, in this particular case, the holes are reaching, crossing and reaching here, it will take those and collect it from and remove it from collector base region and take it to the P region. Similarly, the electrons which are passing through this junction and reaching here, the work of this reverse bias is to take these charge carriers from P to N back here to the collector and collect at the, okay. So here you can see for a PNP type, PNP transistor, which is having a reverse bias, that means negative is connected here, and for N, a positive should be connected here. So what is it receiving? It is receiving as a reverse bias and receive hole charges that flow in the output circuit. It is receiving the holes which are crossing the emitter to base junction and collected at the collector. Similarly, in this particular case, electrons are crossing and receives the electrons. What about the base region? The middle region is known as the base region. It is forming two PN junctions with both the sides, emitter as well as collector. The base emitter junction, we already said this is forward bias and allowing low resistance for the emitter side. Okay, and the base collector junction is reverse bias and providing high resistance in the collector circuit. So this we have already discussed. Now these regions, they have specific level of doping and width, as I told you, emitter, base and collector. So base is very much thinner than the emitter, while collector is wider than both. That means if I want to represent in terms of the width, the scale of these two, all the three layers here, emitter, base and collector, you can see between first and second, these two part of figure 3, the base is very thinnest Then after that comes the emitter, and then largest is the collector, for both cases, NPN or PNP transistors. But generally we represent it in this particular fashion itself to show that all are equal, but actually the width is, base is the thinnest, then emitter is bigger than that, and collector is the biggest. Also, the emitter is the heavily doped layer here. Emitter is the heavily doped layer. So that, what is the reason? Because it, so that it will be able to release or inject large number of charge carriers, which can either be holes or electrons, into the base region. Similarly, base is very lightly doped. Base is very lightly doped and very thin, because the main aim is to transfer these charges from the emitter to the collector. Base is actually a layer which is only used for controlling this, whatever the transfer is taking place of charge carriers from emitter to collector. Okay, so base is very lightly doped and very thin. As it passes now most of the emitter injected charge carriers to the collector. And the third one is the collector, which is moderately doped. Even though it is largest, it is moderately doped. So we said that the transistor has two PN junctions, like two diodes. So they may be known as a emitter based diode or simply the emitter diode. And similarly, the junction between base and collector may be known as a collector based diode or simply the collector diode. So for a transistor, there is a emitter diode and there is a collector diode. They are back to back connected. We have already said that the emitter diode should be forward bias, whereas collector diode should be reverse bias. Now, because of this forward bias emitter diode, the resistance of this region is very small compared to the collector diode. Therefore, a very small forward bias is applied to the emitter diode when compared to the collector diode bias. So here you can see that if we talk about the biasing here, you can see the difference. Here we have applied some biasing, and here also we have applied some biasing, and we have said that here we require forward bias at this junction J1. Here we require reverse bias. So you can see the difference in the number of cells which we have connected. What does this represent? That only a very small amount of potential difference is required here, a less amount of biasing voltage is required, whereas here we require a higher amount of biasing voltage. Okay, so forward bias applied to the emitter diode is very, very small, because the resistance of this region, emitter base region, is very, very small compared to the collector base region. Now, how does this action take place, the transistor action? The emitter base junction is forward bias and collector base junction is reverse bias. We have seen. So if we ignore the presence of emitter base junction, we will say that no current would flow in the collector circuit because of reverse bias. This is NPN. Okay, and if we have applied a reverse bias here, that means here we have applied positive, and there is no bias which is applied here. If we are ignoring this emitter base junction, then practically no current would flow in this collector circuit, because there are no charge carriers itself, because this is a reverse bias region, completely reverse bias region. There are no charges which are injected from the emitter here. Okay. So if the base emitter junction was also present here, right, this region is also present, then forward biasing this region would lead to emitter current flow. That means if I forward bias this now, forward bias means here negative, here positive, like this. This is now forward bias, this is reverse bias condition. So now it will release electrons here. It will lead to the emitter current that will pass through the base region and collected by the collector region here. Right? So it will constitute a current flow here. I hope that is clear to everyone. So we can clearly see that this emitter current almost entirely flows in the collector circuit. So whatever the current which is flowing through this is almost reaching here. Not 100%, but majority of this current which is flowing through the passes through the thin base layer and reaches the collector. Okay. So this, therefore the current in collector circuit depends upon the emitter current. We say that this, if I call this as the collector current IC, then this is the emitter current IE. So IC is basically depending upon emitter current. And if we say that if this emitter current is 0, just now we said that no presence of emitter base junction bias, then this current will also be 0, collector current would also be 0. However, if this emitter current is 1 milliampere, let's say this value is 1 milliampere, then the collector current would also be near to 1 milliampere. Why is that so? Because whatever the charge carriers which are moving from N to P type here in forward bias condition, since the P layer is very thin, it's a base, isn't it? It's very thin, so only, and it is very lightly doped also, you should understand. So what happens, majority of the charge carriers, let's say total 100% of charge carriers are moving towards it, and 5% of the P type holes, here electrons are there, here holes are there, so 5% of that is actually neutralizing it. That 5% current is flowing in the base. Remaining 95% of the electrons are actually passing this and reaching the collector region here. So nearly we say that if the input current is 1 milliampere or the emitter current is 1 milliampere, the collector current is almost equal to 1 milliampere. 5% of that is actually flowing through the base. So this is what actually happens in a transistor. Let us see how it works. So working of an NPN transistor first we'll discuss. So this is the structure, this is the figure here, this is the N region, this is the P region, and this is the N region. P is the thinnest. So what happens in this particular case? This is forward bias condition, this is the reverse bias condition. Forward bias means we are connecting this N type, so it should be connected to negative. P, that means it is connected to positive. Similarly, reverse bias collector base region, you can understand that this is emitter, this is base, this is collector, right? So collector base region should be reverse bias, that means N should be connected to positive and P should be connected to negative. And you can see the amount of voltage, that is also different. This is a low voltage here, a higher voltage required here, because of the difference in resistance level in both the regions, both the PN junction diode regions. Now what happens here? The forward bias causes the electrons in N type to flow towards the base, as we discussed earlier, that these forward bias here, that means this is negative connected here, negative terminal is connected here, that will lead to electrons, okay, these electrons will be moving towards the base here. One second. Now audible to all?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So whenever this region is forward bias, the emitter base junction, okay, what will happen? N type emitter will be releasing the electrons towards the base, and this will be constituting the current which is known as the emitter current IE, right? This will lead to the flow of current IE here. These electrons are, because negative is connected here, so electrons will be actually repelled towards the region here. What will happen now? So these electrons flow through the p-type base and they will combine with holes, but the base, as I told you, is lightly doped and very thin, so only a few electrons, around 5%, combines with the holes to constitute the base current, okay, to constitute this base current. So only 5% of this IE, actually this is around 5% of IE, that is being reaching to the recombining and constituting the base current, and the remaining around 95%, more than 95% of these electrons actually cross over to the collector region and constitute the collector current. This will be constituting the collector current IC. right? Now we can comment and we can say that almost the entire emitter current, because 95% of this is actually reaching the collector. So almost entire current flows in the collector circuit. So what can we comment here? That whatever the current which is flowing here from the emitter, this emitter current, if we basically apply Kirchhoff's current law, what can we say? The emitter current is now being divided into IB and IC, right? Emitter current is flowing like this. Some part of it is releasing base and remaining part is IC. This is IE and this is IB. This is overall analysis. IE is equal to IB plus IC, right? But we already know that this IB is very small, or 5% of IE, and IC is almost 95%, more than 95% of IE, input current. The emitter current is the sum of collector and base currents, almost. So how do we control this? We control this by controlling this base current. By controlling the biasing, we are able to, by controlling the, keeping a resistance in the circuit here, we'll be varying the base current, and correspondingly this IC is controlled. So that is the basic working. Similarly, what happens for a PNP transistor? PNP means just the opposite here. I'll show you the figure. So this is the PNP transistor. This is P, this is N, and this is P here. Forward bias. Here it should be reverse bias. Forward bias means P should be connected to positive. Reverse bias means N should be connected to negative. Here also reverse bias means P connected to negative and N connected to positive. Fine. Now what will happen? Forward bias means positive connected here. Here it is negative connected. Positive connected here will repel the holes. The holes will be, this will be holes which are moving towards the base emitter junction. Base emitter junction. And what will happen? In N we will have electrons. So around, since it is very lightly doped, similar thing will happen. So 95% of holes are actually reaching. You can see here only 5% of them will combine. The remaining 95% or more than 95% actually reach the collector here. The holes. If holes are moving in this direction, essentially, then what is the direction of current? Current is in the opposite direction. Electrons are moving in the opposite direction. So that is why the direction is shown like this. So it may be noted that current conduction within this PNP transistor is by holes. However, in the external wires here, we say that the current is actually still by electrons. Now, the input circuit, that is the base emitter, this is the emitter, this is the base, and this is the collector, right? So the base emitter junction has low resistance because of this forward bias, whereas this is having high resistance due to reverse bias, as we have already seen. And this input current, which is the emitter current, is actually flowing entirely through the collector. So what is essentially happening, as I told you in the starting, that the transistor is transferring the input signal here from the emitter region, from a lower resistance circuit. This is a lower resistance circuit, right? Forward bias PN junction diode is a lower resistance circuit to a higher resistance circuit, and this leads to the amplification capability of transistor. This is how it is acting as an amplifier. Let us see how actually it is actually amplifying. So regarding the symbols also, this is the transistor symbol we have already seen, NPN, PNP, and representing the emitter base collector. So this emitter base and collector, and since it is N, P and N, we know that PN junction should be forward bias. So that means the current will always flow from P to N, right? And we can say what is the direction of current from P to N. So this is N, this is P, and this is N. So from P to N is the current flowing. So that is why the direction here you can see for a common, for a NPN transistor, this is the symbol. The arrow is actually pointing out like this. We also draw it like this, that this particular fashion, like this. The collector, base and emitter. If you rotate this, you will get this type of a representation. Okay. Similarly, for a PNP, that is P and N and P. We know this is emitter. It's already written here. This is emitter. This is base, and this is collector. So PN should be forward bias. That means current will be flowing from P to N. So the arrow is into the transistor. Arrow is into the transistor. Here the arrow is actually out of the transistor. So that is the representation for a NPN transistor and a PNP transistor. I hope that is clear to all of you. Now regarding the working as an amplifier, I was telling you. So how does it work as an amplifier? So this transistor actually increases the strength of a weak signal, and by increasing this strength, that process is actually known as amplification. How does it amplify? Let us see here. So here this is your transistor. Which type of a transistor is this? An N transistor, where P to N is actually forward bias, isn't it? Current is flowing from P to N, anode to cathode, right? So where do we connect our signal? Our signal is actually, let's say this is a signal connected between the emitter and base. So the weak signal is actually applied between emitter base region, emitter and base, and output is taken across the collector and base region across a resistance. So here we connect a high resistance, 5 kilo ohm, let's say we have connected here, and it is connected in the collector to base region. Across this high resistance, we are measuring the output voltage. So we are applying a signal, a small voltage signal here, and we are measuring the output voltage across this. We will see that this V0 is very, very greater than Vi. How is it happening? Let us see. So in order to achieve this amplification, this input circuit should always remain in forward bias condition. Then only this is having a lower resistance path. So to keep this signal in the forward bias condition, we always apply a biasing voltage here. So maybe this signal is not enough for keeping this diode in always forward bias condition. We apply a voltage VEE. That is basically keeping this PN junction always in forward bias condition with this polarity. So this DC voltage VEE is applied in the input circuit in addition to the applied signal, input signal, right? So this DC voltage VEE, since it is used to keep the PN junction in the forward bias condition, this is known as the bias voltage, and its magnitude is such that it keeps the input forward bias regardless of the polarity of signal. So the polarity of signal may be plus minus or minus plus. So whatever the signal polarity, this VE will be such that it will keep this PN junction diode emitter base, between emitter base and in forward bias. They should always be in forward bias condition. So that is maintained by this VEE. I hope that is clear. Now, as the input circuit has low resistance, what will happen is has forward bias, low resistance. So a small change in signal voltage, a small change in the signal, any change in the signal delta Vi, okay, will lead to a increased current in emitter. So appreciable change in emitter current, because resistance offered by this region is R of base emitter region is very, very small. So any small change in the value of this delta Vi, what will happen? It will lead to a high amount of emitter current. So this will almost cause the same change in collector current, because we know that what is the value? IE is equal to IB plus IC. So if this is increasing, we know that this is very, very small, so IC is also increasing, right? So the current which is flowing through the load resistance, what is the load resistance current now? That is equal to IC. Now this current, which is high already, it is being taken across a high resistance. So this current multiplied by the high resistance will lead to a large value of voltage. Large value of voltage. So this is taken across a high load resistance, producing a large voltage across it. So this will lead to a amplification of signal from input to output. So even if the input signal is very weak and is applied across the input, it is appearing in amplified form in the collector circuit. This is the way in which transistor works as an amplifier. I hope that is clear to all. This is how we say that it is working as an amplifier. It is amplifying the signal. Now let us quickly see what this was extensive discussion on BJT's study. Now quickly let us see what are the transistor connections. Since the three terminals we have are emitter, base and collector. So we have three ways of connection: common base connection, a common emitter connection and a common collector connection. We are focusing, our aim is to study basically and implement the characteristics, the input and output characteristics for a common emitter configuration. So also one thing to be noted is, regardless of the circuit connection, any type of circuit connection here, the emitter is always in the forward bias condition, whereas collector is always biased in the reverse bias condition. So that is one point you should remember, whatever the type of connection which you are using. Now common base connections are there. When do we say it's a common base? So we are having, let's say this is emitter, base and collector, right? Emitter, base and collector. So if I'm having my circuit says that my base is common between input and output. So this I will represent as a common base connection. Common base connection, right? Similarly, if my collector is actually the common between collector and base, so we have collector, base and emitter. So between base and emitter we are having applying the input, and between collector and emitter we are taking the output. So this type of a connection here is actually known as a common emitter configuration. And for common collector means that collector is common here. So what will that connection here? So between just the opposite. So if I'm having collector, emitter, let's say collector, base and emitter here. So, or I'll just keep it in the opposite direction. So here it is collector, base and emitter. Then between base and collector, here let me just show you. Yeah, between the, so this is an NPN transistor. So this is your emitter, base and collector here. So you can see here between base and collector and between emitter and collector. Please draw it here. Between base and emitter, sorry, between base and collector and between emitter and collector. So these are the, this is for common collector configuration. So since there are three terminals here, so taking one as a base, or we can say common, okay? One as a common. Here collector is the common between the input and output. Here common emitter means emitter terminal is actually common here between input and output, and common base means base is actually common between emitter and collector here between input and output. So depending upon the connections, we have these three type of configurations. I hope that is clear. Now to study, there are two factors here. One is known as current amplification factor. Let us see what is that. So in this particular circuit, this is a common base connection, CB configuration, common base. That means a base is connected between input and output here. Base is the shared terminal here. This is the base, and this is the this is collector here. So emitter, base, and collector. This is which type of a diode? This is an NPN transistor. Similarly, this is a PNP transistor. Okay, here also the base is common. This is emitter and this is the collector. Now, what is the working here? So input here is applied between emitter and base because base is the common here. Between emitter and base, we are applying the signal here. The signal is applied. The signal is applied here. Output is taken across collector and base. Between collector and this base, we are taking the output. Now, to take the output, we just now, as you have seen, as an amplifier, right? So same circuit we have drawn here. So RC is a large resistance here, connected in the collector circuit. So base is common to both input and output, hence it is called a common base connection. This for NPN and PNP. NPN, and this is for a PNP transistor. Now what happens here? What is the current amplification factor? So current amplification factor is actually represented by the symbol alpha. So it is the ratio of output current. What is the output current here? IC. Right? Output is this collector side. So output current to the input current. Input current is basically the emitter current. Now the input current is emitter current and output current is collector current. So the ratio of this, not just these current values, but the change in collector current, that means delta IC, to the change in emitter current, delta I, okay, at constant collector base voltage. That means this collector base voltage here, this voltage VCB, EB is kept constant. Okay, by keeping this constant VCB, this ratio is known as the current amplification factor alpha. So how do you represent alpha? Alpha is nothing but the ratio of change in collector current to change in emitter current at a constant value of collector to base voltage. Now looking at this ratio, what will be the range of the value here? What will be the general values of alpha here? Since it is IC divided by IE, and we had already seen that for transistor action, what is the KCL equation? IE is equal to IB plus IC, isn't it? IE is equal to IB plus IC. We know that IE is, since IB is very small, IE is almost equal to IC, but some amount of current is actually flowing here, 5% around, we have seen. So basically, if I take the ratio of IC divided by IE, this will be around 95%, isn't it? So roughly I can say that this will be 95 divided by, this is how much, 100%. So this value is around 0.9. So it is clear that this value of alpha is less than unity and in the region of 0.9 to 95. So 0.9 to 0.99. So this value can be increased by decreasing the base current. How can this be increased? अभी हमने देखा, just now we have seen IE is equal to IB plus IC. So if you want to increase this value of alpha, what should we decrease? The thickness of the base, the base layer, because 5% of recombinations are taking place. If we further want to reduce this, let us make it 2%. Then what will be IC? IC will be 98%. That means it will become 0.98. Alpha will become 0.98. So by decreasing the thickness of base region and looping and its doping level, we can increase the value of alpha. So practical value of alpha is in the range of 0.9 to 0.99. I believe everyone is able to understand this. Yeah, okay. Because I am not getting any response in between. Is it clear to everyone what I am discussing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let us find out what is the expression for collector current. So 1 second. Now collector current, we had seen what is the main equation, I is equal to IB plus IC, right? This is the total KCL equation here. Now whole of emitter current does not reach the collector here because some is released in the base, right? Some percentage. Now also this region here, right? This is NPN, let's say, okay? And this region we know that this is J1, this is J2, this is reverse bias. So this is emitter, base and collector. So J2 region, we know that this is collector base region, which is reverse bias condition here. So what will happen in reverse bias condition? There will be some small amount of leakage current which is flowing, and that is mainly due to the minority charge carriers. Okay, we had seen in our diode also, PN junction, the last experiment, that there is a small amount of leakage current which is flowing because of minority charge carriers. So what will be the total collector current then? Total collector current now will be consisting of two currents here. One is because of the majority carriers, because of charges flowing from emitter to collector passing through the base, and then because of the minority charge carriers between reverse bias collector base region. So the part of current which reaches the collector terminal, what is that part of current? We know that some alpha times our input current, right? Alpha times our input current is reaching the collector, isn't it? And some amount of current is added to it, the reverse leakage current, that is known as I leakage, and it is due to the movement of minority charge carriers across reverse bias condition, reverse bias base collector region. So the total current IC can be written as alpha IE, that is the component of majority charge carrier current, which is starting from emitter and flowing from the through the base and reaching the collector region. Along with that, the reverse leakage current, I leakage. Now this leakage current is generally abbreviated as ICBO. What is this ICBO? So this is basically the collector to base current, ICBO, collector to base current with emitter being open circuit. Emitter is actually open in that particular case. We call that current as ICBO. So this IC is actually written as alpha IE plus ICBO. And from our initial equation, we know what is IE. IE is equal to IC plus IB. Right? So if this is first equation and this is second equation, we are putting second equation in first. So this IE is put here. What we'll get? IC is equal to alpha into IC plus IB plus ICBO. And if we take IC terms on one side, so here this is IC, alpha IC. So if I'm taking those terms on one side, what is the right hand side? Alpha IB plus ICBO. And what is IC here? IC can be found out as dividing everything by 1 minus alpha. So you get IC as alpha by 1 minus alpha into IB plus ICBO divided by 1 minus alpha. I hope this expression is clear to everyone. This is just KCL applied here along with the amplification value. So what can we comment from this? This IC, the collector current, is equal to some constant alpha by 1 minus alpha, because alpha for any PN junction diode or PN junction this region, alpha will be, for this transistor will be a constant, right? So that alpha by 1 minus alpha, so I'm saying that this is a constant K, so this will be K times IB plus 1 minus alpha will be another constant, let's say K1 multiplied by ICBO. So this ICBO, since it is very, very small because it is the reverse leakage current, its magnitude is very, very small. Essentially, I can say that by varying the base current, I can vary the collector current. By varying the base current or controlling the base current, we can control the collector current. Is that clear? So this is how we achieve control action in a transistor. How are we controlling the current? Is this clear to everyone? Now, what happens in a collector common emitter configuration? Common emitter means emitter is common between the base and collector here, input and output. So you can see this is for a NPN case. Here this is for a PNP connection. This is forward bias and this should be forward bias, and this is reverse bias. So forward bias means this is P and N. What is the current here flowing? This is IB, and this is IE, and this is IC. So the input is applied between the base and emitter, and output is taken across the collector and emitter by connecting a high resistance across it, RC. Now, what is the base current amplification factor? So here we have seen here what is alpha. Alpha is the current amplification factor, delta IC divided by delta IE. Now here we are going to see the base current amplification factor. Now what is that? Let us see. So here the input current, we know it is IB, this is the input current, and output current is IC. What is this base current amplification factor? This is represented by beta, and beta is nothing but the change in collector current, delta IC, to the change in base current. So this ratio is known as beta, the base current amplification factor. Now again, if we see the equation, IE is equal to IB plus IC, we know that this is around 5% of IE, isn't it? So we know that for generally all transistors, only around 5% of emitter current flows to the base current. Therefore, what is the value of beta? Beta is nothing but delta IC, change in delta this, divided by change in delta. So what is this? Basically, this is around 95%. This. So delta IC divided by delta IB. So this is very, very small, around 5% only, and IC is the remaining 95% of IE. So this is basically 95 divided by 5, or 0.95 divided by 0.05. So how much is this basically? If you want to take this roughly, this is near to 100, right? 95 is around 100, near to 100. 100 by 5 is 20. So this ratio is around 20 or greater than 20 generally. So its value for practical transistors reaches from 20 to 500. This is the range of values of beta. So you can see here what is the gain. What is the gain which you are getting? What is IC? In this configuration, IC is the output current. This is output current. And what is IB? This is the input current, isn't it? IB is the input current, IC is the output current here. So output divided by input, the current gain which you are getting here in a common emitter configuration is beta. This gain is very, very high. So this type of a connection is providing appreciable current gain as well as appreciable voltage gain. So this type of a configuration is generally used in for transistor action. Now, what is the relationship between alpha and beta? We have seen what is alpha and what is beta. So beta is delta IC divided by delta IB. Similarly, alpha is delta IC divided by delta IE. Also, the third equation which we have is IE is equal to IB plus IC. So if IE is equal to IB plus IC, if we check the change in these currents, you will get delta IE is equal to delta IB plus delta IC. All have some changes, so this will also have the KCL followed. So from here I can say what is delta IB? Delta IB can be written as delta IE minus delta IC, and To get beta is delta IC divided by delta IB, right? So this IB can be substituted here. So you get beta as delta IC from here divided by delta IB. Delta IB is nothing but delta IE minus delta IC, isn't it? Now if we divide this numerator and denominator by delta IE, here also if I divide by delta IE, what we are getting on the numerator? Delta IC divided by delta IE divided by delta IE divided by delta IE, that is 1, is 1, minus delta IC divided by delta IE. The numerator becomes delta IC by delta IE is nothing but alpha. This is 1 and this is again minus of alpha. What are you getting here finally? Finally, the relationship between beta and alpha can be found out from here as beta is equal to alpha divided by 1 minus alpha. Is it clear to everyone? So what can we,
Sir, clear.
yeah, so what can we see if alpha value is increased? Alpha, how did we increase? By reducing the thickness of the base region, right? So, and the doping level. So if we reduce the value of thickness of base, alpha will increase, and the maximum value of alpha which it can have is 1. So alpha, as alpha approaches unity, if this becomes 1, what will happen to beta? Beta will approach to unity. So as alpha approaches unity, beta will approach infinite value. So the current gain in common emitter configuration is very high. Generally, because alpha value is in the order of 0.9 to 0.99, isn't it? So we have seen that is why that beta value is very high. So that is why this circuit arrangement is used in around 90 to 95% of all transistor applications. This is clear to everyone? The advantage of common emitter configuration. Now let us quickly see the expression for collector current, and then we'll move into the experiment how we have to do. So expression for collector current, let us see the common emitter configuration. IB is the input current and IC is the output current, and IE is equal to IB plus IC. So let me just zoom it a bit if you are having difficulty to see. So VE is equal to IE plus I is equal to IB plus IC, and IC we already know the collector current here is equal to the sum of the majority carrier currents alpha I plus there will be some ICBO, isn't it? So IC I'm substituting like this alpha IE plus ICBO, and instead of IE I'm going to write down IB plus IC. So this will be nothing but IE into IB plus IC plus ICBO, right? So that is what is written here. Now this is alpha times IB plus IC into ICBO. 1 second. Yeah, this is ICBO. And if we take the collector currents term on the one side, so IC, this is alpha IC here, alpha IC. So if we take on the other side, you'll get IC into 1 minus alpha. And what is the other term? Alpha into IB plus ICBO. So IC we have written here alpha upon 1 minus alpha into IB plus 1 by 1 minus alpha into ICBO, which we had already derived also. Now in this expression, if IB is 0, that means if my base is open here, base circuit is open, IB is 0, the collector current will be equal to the current of the emitter, right? So this is abbreviated as ICEO, meaning collector to emitter current with base open. So what is this current? This remaining quantity, this current quantity, if IB is 0, this quantity becomes 0 here. If IB is 0, this will become 0. Then what is the current now flowing? This collector current will be only because of this reverse leakage current, right? And that current is actually abbreviated as ICEO, means collector to emitter current with base open, ICEO. Okay, that value is 1 by 1 minus alpha into ICBO, this quantity which I have put in brackets. Now this value 1 upon 1 minus alpha into ICBO, if we write down as ICEO in this expression 3, in this expression, if I write down instead of this bracket ICEO, what will we get? IC is equal to alpha upon 1 minus alpha into IB plus, this is nothing but ICEO, right? What is this value? Alpha upon 1 minus alpha. We've already seen that relationship between beta and alpha, that is beta is alpha upon 1 minus alpha. So instead of this, I can write down IC is equal to beta, alpha upon 1 minus alpha is beta, times IB plus ICEO. What is this ICEO? ICEO is the collector to emitter current with base open, and its value is equal to 1 upon 1 minus alpha. This value is nothing but 1 upon 1 minus alpha into ICBO, which is collector to base, reverse leakage current with base open, right? So this is my final representation of IC. IC is equal to beta times IB plus ICEO. I hope this is clear to all. So this is the theory behind our common emitter configuration, which is the aim of our experiment. Now we need to plot the characteristics. What are the characteristics we have? So let me just open the other shared document with you. So in this document which I have shared, yeah, as far as our lab experiment is concerned, just a second. Yes, so let us resume. I was talking about the characteristics which we need to plot. So what are the input characteristics for a common emitter configuration? So this is a common emitter configuration. The input is connected between base and emitter, and output is measured across collector and emitter here, right? So this to measure the characteristics. What is the input characteristics? The input characteristics is nothing but the relationship between the currents. Which currents we have? The base current versus the base emitter voltage. Okay, base current IB versus the base emitter voltage. So if I want to draw here, the base current with respect to the base emitter voltage, okay, base emitter voltage with collector emitter voltage to be constant for a given collector emitter voltage. So for, let's say, VCE1, this is one of the values of collector emitter voltage. We will draw one graph. Similarly, then after that, what we'll do, we'll change the value of this VCE1 to VCE2, collector to emitter voltage, we'll shift it to VCE2, and then we'll plot another graph, another variation between IB and VB. Similarly, we'll change it and we'll make it VCE3 and so on. So this variation for given value of VCE, collector to emitter voltage, between IB and VBE, this variation is, or this graph is actually known as the input characteristics. Input characteristics for a common emitter configuration. Why it is common emitter here? Because you can see here, if I want to draw, So for common emitter means this is your transistor. Like this. So there is some issue here with the stylus here, that is why this happens. This. So we are having, this is the base current, this is the emitter current, the collector current. So between the currents here and the voltage VBE between this. So that is IB versus VBE, this characteristics for a given value of this voltage, VCE, given value of this voltage, whatever the variation between this happens, that is known as the input characteristics, right? And how will be the output characteristics? The output is the output current here, and the output voltage is VCE. This is the output side, isn't it? So it will be nothing but the variation of the collector current with the collector to emitter voltage. But what is the value which we have to check here? That is the base current. So a given value of base current, let's say IB1, we keep it and we plot the characteristics. Now this is varied and this is changed to IB2, and for that again we plot the characteristics, and slowly similarly we can change the value of IB3 and plot the characteristics. So we'll get a family of curves. What are these three showing? That at these three different values of voltages and currents, we are able to plot different characteristics, right? So these different characteristics can be plotted and they will together constitute a family of curves. Now how will be the characteristics for base to emitter? Can anyone tell? This input characteristic, this is output. This is output. One second. This is the output characteristics, input characteristics. So I can say here, what is the value here? I can say this characteristics IC is nothing but a function of, what is the function of this? IC is a function here for output characteristics. IC is a function of VCE and IB. Function of CE, IB means for a given value of IB, IC will vary depending upon what is VCE. So IC is nothing but a function of VCE comma IB. Similarly here, if I want to write down this expression, the base current here will be a function of which 2 points? The collector emitter voltage and the base emitter voltage. So it will be a function of VBE comma VCE. Let us see. So IB can be written as a function of VBE comma VCE. So for a given value of VCE, this curve will happen. Now, what will be the variation of this, or what will be the plot shape? IB versus VBE. We know that this is the current flowing through the PN junction, IB, right? And the voltage across is VBE, the voltage across the PN junction. So basically, this is nothing but the waveform of a, or the plot of a current versus voltage characteristics of a PN junction diode. So what will be the characteristics variation? It will be something like this, similar to that of a forward bias PN junction diode. So this will be the IB versus VBE characteristics. Because what is this current? IB is the current, the anode current for this PN junction. Similarly, what is VBE? The voltage across the diode. So IB versus VBE is nothing but the current versus voltage relationship for a PN junction forward bias diode. So that is how the characteristics will be. Similarly, what will be IC versus VCE? IC versus VCE will be known as the output characteristics. And how will these characteristics will be? So if I have a specific value of IB1, base current, for lower values of VCE, there will be very small value of IC, and as we increase the value of VCE, this current will slowly increase and finally become constant. So if we increase the value of IB1 from IB1 to IB2, IB2 is increased. So what will happen? This will increase and become like this. This is for IB2. Similarly, for more value of current, this will become IB3. So for different values of base currents here, you will get different set of curves. So this is VCE1. Similarly, you will have VCE2 and VCE3. The family of curves. Similarly, here also this is the family of curve. Now this region here, the collector, since output is something which we are focusing on, so this region is basically known as the linear region, in which IC is actually linearly varying with respect to VCE. After which, what is happening? You can clearly see the current is almost becoming constant. For any further increase in the value of VCE, there is not much change in the value of ICE. So this region is known as the saturation. And when base current is not at all there, the base current is not at all there, this value of current, collector current, will also be very small. IC is negligible, near to zero, and this region is actually known as the cutoff region. Now the collector current is negligible. This will happen when IB is equal to 0, very small. IC will be there. I hope this is clear. So this is the characteristics, input and output characteristics, which we need to plot. But how do we get these characteristics? So to do that, let us go to the start of this experiment and see how to implement this. We won't be implementing it again in the breadboard. We will be using a virtual lab setup. So you can see here there is a link which is shared with you in the AIM itself. So we'll click on that link. You can see it is taking us to a virtual lab platform. Virtual lab means basically it is a platform, online platform, which is helping us to simulate some circuits and get the results. So this is one of the virtual lab experiments which we are going to see here. And so BJT common emitter characteristics is the aim to plot this. The theory, so click on the theory here. You can see the explanations which we have discussed. Procedure, click on this procedure and we'll be able to see what is a procedure. Click on simulation. You can see that we are having option of two characteristics, either a BJT input characteristics or output characteristics. So if I click on input characteristics, it will open another page. So this is BJT, the common emitter configuration, to plot the characteristics. Now what is the circuit? Circuit is the one which we have just now discussed. Emitter is common, base and collector. And what we are measuring here, we are measuring the base current. So there is an ammeter which is shown here. The base emitter voltage is measured using this voltmeter. Similarly, to measure the output current, which is the collector current here, there is an ammeter. And to measure the voltage across collector and emitter, we are connecting a voltmeter. Now, how to change these values of base currents as well as this collector to emitter voltage? How to do that? By connecting a rheostat, variable resistance. Rheostat is a variable resistance here. So this is connected here in this particular circuit, and the biasing voltages are kept, DC bias, VBB and VCC on both the sides. How to get these characteristics? Remember what is the input characteristics? Input characteristics is IB with respect to VBE. That means this base current with respect to base to emitter voltage for a given value of IC. What we have to basically do, we have to keep, not IC, VCE. So we have to keep a value of VCE fixed and then vary the collector base to emitter voltage here and plot IB variation with respect to that. So let us see what is the instruction. So to see what are the instructions, what you can do, just hover on, take your mouse and hover on the instruction portion here. When you hover on your mouse this instruction, you can see this is a pop-up coming out. What are the instructions? Initially set the rheostat RH1 to 1 ohm and RH2 to 1 ohm. So where is RH1? This is RH1 and this is RH2. How do you vary this? You can see here there is a control panel which is shown. What can you vary if you move this connection here? You can see the resistance is actually changing. You have to make this RH to 1 ohm. Similarly, RH2 also should be kept to 1. That is the first instruction. Second is set the collector emitter voltage VCE to 1 volt by adjusting RH2. That means this VCE, this voltmeter, now it is reading 0.1. You have to make it how much? 1 volt by adjusting RH2, this RH2. So by varying this, you have to check whether when this becomes 1 volt. You can see whenever I am varying this, this is also VCE also varies. Now it has become 1 volt. We have set the value of RH2. So at this value of collector to emitter voltage, 1 volt we have set. Now we will vary VBE. This VBE will vary by varying RH1 and plot IB versus VBE. That is what our experiment is, input characteristics. Next instruction is the base emitter voltage is by varying RH1 and note the reading of base current, and this current is in microamperes for different values of VBE. So click on plot later and clear the set of readings and repeat this experiment for VCE of 2 volt, 3 volt and 4 volt. So what can you do here? The first step is here to, now this is 1 volt, at this what is the value of base current? So whatever the values you have, 2.058, that is in microamperes. IC is 2.248 microamperes. So just click on this value of add to table. Whenever you click on add to table, whatever these values are there, that will get added to this observation table. Observation table, what you are having, for given value of VCE, that is 1 volt, which you have said, we are varying the base emitter voltage. Base emitter voltage is 0.02 and base current here is 2.058 microamperes. You can see here. Right? Now what to do? We have to again vary VBE and plot, observe these values. So next is I'm plotting. I've made is increased it, add to table, increased and add to table. Increase these values. You can see that these readings are changing. Add to table, change it, add to table, change it, add to table, change it, add to table. The more points you have, the more smooth your graph will be. I'm just taking some limited points. You can take much more finer points here between them. So many points are there. So more points means smoother curve you will get. So this is the base emitter voltage. You can see as the voltage of base emitter increased, the current through the base has also increased here. For a given value of VCE, what is the value of VCE we have set? VCE is 1 volt. So for that we have got this characteristics. Now to see this variation in the form of a graph, we click on plot. So as soon as we click on that, you can see this is the plot which we are getting. Right? So this is the base current on y-axis and base emitter voltage on the x-axis. So with respect to VBE variation, we are getting IB, and this plot is for VCE is equal to 1 volt. Fine. So this is something which you have done. Now there is an option of printing this graph also. So click on this print, and you will be getting this printing option, and you can save it for your reference later, like this. Is it clear? So for this set of current, this values, you are getting this particular plot. Fine. Now, what we have to do, you have to repeat this for different values. Instruction अगर आप पढ़ेंगे, you can see that last experiment is, the last point is now set the collector emitter voltage to 2 volt now. So this was for 1 volt, right? Now same thing you have to repeat the same portion completely for by setting VCE to 2. How do you do that? First you have to clear these. When you click on clear, all things will be gone. Before clearing, you note down all this and plot it, or note down these particular readings. Plot you can later do. Once you have the readings, then you can plot it later also. Then once you want to change the value of VCE, you have to clear it. Click on clear everything will be vanished, cleared from this circuit, and now you have to keep the value of VCE to 2. Okay, so start RH1 and both you have to keep 1 first, and then start increasing the value of RH, make it 2. Now it is 2, right? VC is 2. Again, what you have to do, you have to take these values. So for 2, VC as 2 volt, change the value of base emitter. Now for base emitter 0.02, current is 2.058. Again, increase the value of RH1, add to the table. Again, increase. Keep on increasing the values here like this. I am taking less readings just to show you the variation here. You can take more readings to get a smoother curve and click on plot here. So you will get the second characteristics for different VCE value. VCE1, now this is for VCE 2 volts. Similarly for 3 and 4. So 4 set of graphs you will get, that is basically the family of graphs, as I told you, family of curves between for the input characteristics IB versus VBE. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this you have to do, you people have to do on this virtual lab platform, get the readings, and finally once you get the 4 set of readings, you have to plot on a single graph paper all the current versus voltage characteristics. So we'll get basically how many graphs? We'll be getting 4 graphs for different values of VCE. VCE of 1 volt, 2 volt, 3 volt and 4 volt. Clear? So this is about the input characteristics, common emitter configuration. Now if you go back to this main page of this experiment, you can click on output characteristics and it will open another page. So in output characteristics, what are you getting? Output means we know collector current is the output because it's a common emitter configuration, and output current is collector current, and output voltage here is the voltage across collector and emitter by definitely across the resistance here, right? So again, how to vary the value of base current here for a given base current, to we vary it by changing this rheostat value, the resistance value RH1. So again, same circuit is there, ammeter and voltmeter at input and output. What we need to do, just hover on the instruction. So initially set the value of RH1 and RH2 to 1 ohm each. So this is 1 ohm, this is also 1 ohm. Okay. Now next is to set the base current to 15 microamperes. How do you change the base current? By adjusting rheostat RH1. So RH1 is this. How to vary this? It is given here RH1. By varying this, you have to make IB current to be 15 microamperes. So let us vary here. As I vary, you can see the current is changing. So I am not getting 14.9, and directly next is 15.35 microampere. Let that be the current here. So for 15.35 microampere base current, we need to see what is the value of or variation of IC versus VCE. So what is ICE? 3.92 and VCE is 0.1. So let us add that value to the table. So 3.92 and 0.1. Okay. Now how to vary this value, this characteristics हम कैसे निकालेंगे? By varying the rheostat RH2. What will this vary? VCE, it will vary, correspondingly IC will also change. So RH2 now we have to vary. So change the value here and add to table. Change the value, add to table. For different set of values, more smooth curve you will get if more number of entries you are having. That means smaller steps if you take, you'll get lot of readings. Once you get these readings, you can click on plot. So you will be able to get the output characteristics. That means collector current IC versus collector emitter voltage VCE. So this is the one which I had discussed, right? Initially it is linearly varying, and after some time the current saturates. Collector current is no more increasing, even if VCE increases. Is it clear to everyone? This is one of the graphs. And at what value? This is for IB is equal to 15.3 micro amperes, 15.35 micro amperes. Now what we have to do, this is just one curve. We have to get a family of curves. Get the family of curves, what we'll do, last seventh step is to change that current to 20 microamperes. What we have to do, to noting this values, observation table, click on clear. Now vary the value of this ammeter reading to make it 20 microamperes. So now it is 20.43. Yeah. So make it 20.43. Keep it fixed here. And now again vary the value of this resistance. So vary the value of resistance and get the readings between IC and VCE. You can see I have taken just less number of readings. You have to take more number of readings later whenever you do this. Yeah. So you can see I have taken around 11 readings. We will get more number of readings and smoother curve. And to get the plot, click on plot. We are getting the characteristics here. So this is another output characteristics IC versus VCE, for which how much base current? Base current is around 20.43 microamperes. 20.43 microamperes, whatever you have set here. This value is set by varying RH1. So these are the two curves which you have to plot on the same graph. One with IB is equal to 15.3, around 15.3, whatever the value was there, which you have seen, and the other one is 20.43 microamperes. For these values of base currents, you will get the two curves which have to be plotted on the same graph. So you will get here IB1 is for, this is for 15 microamperes and this is for 20 microamperes. So these two curves you will get. Similarly, you have to get VC1 and VC2, VC3 and VC4. So four curves you have to get here. This is for VCE 1 volt, VCE 2 volt, VCE 3 volt and VCE 4 volt. Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear to all what is required in this experiment as part of the plotting of graphs? Yeah. So आपको इस experiment में, this is about this experiment. I have shown you on the virtual lab platform. You need to implement this later at your own system. The input characteristics as well as the output characteristics. This is output and this is input characteristics. So I believe you have understood how to do this on virtual lab platform. Also the theory is with you extensively in detail about transistor, how the action is taking place, what are the configurations and what are the collector current equation for both the cases. For a common base also, common collector also, common emitter also we have seen here. We have seen what is alpha, what is beta and what is the relationship between them. Okay, so in this particular record summation for this experiment 8, what you have to do, you have to write down the aim, the apparatus, the circuit diagrams. So the circuit diagrams, only two circuit diagrams which you need to draw. This is for output characteristics and this is for input characteristics. And write down the procedures for both the cases, the observation table. So here for collector emitter voltage, first value, you plot this, write down the observation table. So you will have for input characteristics how many tables? So you will have 4 tables here. So this will be basically 4 tables you will have. This into 4. Okay. At VCE1, VCE2, VCE3 and VCE4. Okay, and for base current in this particular case you will be having how many observation tables? Here you will be having into two tables you will be having. So this is into 4 and into 2. One is for base current at 15 microamperes, the other one is for 20 microamperes. Two set of readings you'll have, and you have to plot them on the same graph for input and another graph for output. Then write down the result, conclusion, and quiz questions. There are only 2 quiz questions here, so you can do that also later. Is it clear to everyone what you have to do in this experiment as part of lab record work? Yes, any doubts? Yes, students, any doubts regarding this experiment?
No, sir.
Okay, what about other experiments from 1 to 7? Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just see till 6th. Okay, so 7th experiment date is not being given till now. For due date आपको नहीं दिया हुआ है, right? So but you have completed from your own side the record work. Since you have completed that experiment last week, have you completed the record?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, already.
Yeah, so good. That is good that you are preparing your record well in advance. So soon the link will be shared for submission for experiment number 7, and then after for experiment number 8. So whenever the due date is coming, correspondingly you make a PDF, scan it and make a PDF and upload it on the folder. So the recording link of today's session will also be shared later. Okay, and the portions which I have taken, do you want that PDF also?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'll share that portion also with you. Okay,
Okay, sir.
in that Google Drive folder. So any other doubts or anything regarding Tetra E lab from experiment number 1 to 7? Everything is clear? Okay, fine. So our session for today's lab is completed, our discussion. Please go through this lab manual once again. Also the theory portion which I have discussed with you, go through this recording once again, once the link is shared with you, because I know that this is common emitter configuration, transistor, the transistor action, so many things we have actually I have discussed in this session, but it may be difficult to grasp everything in a single go. So try to go through this recording one more time, okay, for better understanding. Fine. So